You can try all that you want, but it just won't be the same because in the end, there's only one of these guys, and they don't grow on Southern California palm trees.
In this case, Boston trees.
Okay, Boston trees, whatever Boston trees there are. Okay, so do I like the narrative here? I do, but in the end, would Kevin be intrigued by going to Boston to put them over the top, the way he put Golden State over the top? I just don't think it would have the same vibe, the same feeling. There's no LeBron involved in this because LeBron's out. That was just such a beautiful maneuver for Kevin Durant to say, you guys just completely crumbled in the face of LeBron and Kyrie and company, so I'm going to go save you. I'm going to go save Steph's legacy twice in a row, 17 and 18, and I'm going to go crush LeBron's. I'm going to destroy it for 2 straight years. I'm going to turn 6 and 4 in the finals into 4 and 6 in the finals, which Kevin did by winning back-to-back MVPs, and you can't take that away from him.
No.
But would this feel like the same thing? They need me to put them over the top against Golden State? Maybe. Might there be a little bit of lingering animosity towards Steph? And I thought there was some toward Draymond. I guess they figured that one out and buried it after Draymond called him the B word. But sometimes Kevin can be weird, like he still smolders inside. And
you mean to be weird and we want out after a couple of years? And that's one of the reasons why people seem to be unwilling to trade, because you want us to blow up our entire young nucleus, our farm system, and then you get upset, and then all of a sudden you want to be traded 1 or 2 years after the fact.
Okay, all I know is, would I love to see Kevin Durant against the Warriors in next year's finals? I would. Would I favor the Celtics in that? I would, if they had Kevin Durant and Golden State did not. And I think it would settle a lot of the scores. It would open a lot of people's eyes just how great Kevin Durant can be this time at age 34.
There's no debating of that. There's no debating how great Kevin Durant is. We know how great he is. He's a generational talent.
Okay,
he's a transcendent player.
The problem is he's irreplaceable because in basketball, it only takes one. As we've seen many times with LeBron. LeBron has been great with the Cavaliers and blah, blah, blah. We can see it.
Yeah.
When you're transcendent, when you're all time, there's only one of you, and you can't replace you. Cleveland obviously found out when he left to go to Miami and then went back, and all of a sudden life changed back around in Cleveland and finally broke through and won a championship.
Correct.
So the point is, Kevin Durant has 4 years left on his contract.
He does?
Kevin Durant is nowhere near free agency. It's not like he's got a year left or even 2 years left. He's got 4 years left. And they're owed to the Brooklyn Nets. So I still say the Nets are going to listen to all the offers, and then they're going to shake their heads and say, no, we like what we are because we loved what we were when we started last year as the betting favorite to win it all going into last regular season when we did have KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. Then James Harden fought his way out, quit his way out, however you want to say, out of Brooklyn to Philadelphia. And they got Ben Simmons back. And I like that. I thought that could be an upgrade, just an all-around upgrade, because they needed the defensive presence of a guy who's a candidate always to be Defensive Player of the Year. For whatever reason, he wasn't physically or mentally ready to play last year, and it crushed them. And then Kyrie wouldn't get vaccinated, and it crushed them. And KD was awful in the first round because his body language was awful, and it said half-hearted. It said, my heart's not in this anymore. And now there are rampant reports on something that I first guessed, that KD and Kyrie have completely fallen apart and gone Splitsville, no longer besties. All of that should and could be remedied in Brooklyn. All of that can be run back with KD, Kyrie, and a healthy Ben Simmons.
You just said that there is a do not invite list between KD and Kyrie, and you wanted to run it back in Brooklyn?
Okay, so he opted back in, did Kyrie, for his 36.7. So you just say, I'm sorry, but business is business, and you're just going to have to figure this out for one more year.
But don't you think Kevin Durant could have gone to Josiah, could have gone to Sean Marks and said, look, I'll run it back, but I don't want to run it back with the other guy. And they would have moved the other guy.
Okay, well, they still could.
They still could. So, but I don't believe.
I'm not sure where that would leave Kevin next year.
But you saying if there's like, okay, and we talked about this last week about the building between Russ, AD, and LeBron jumping on the phone, making a commitment to recommit to each other, sacrificing for the betterment of the team. Now, Do you believe that the relationship between Kyrie and KD is as volatile or maybe as toxic as LeBron, Russ, and AD relationship is? Do you believe it is equal to that or more?
I'm not behind the scenes, so it's hard for me to quantify that.
Right.
It feels potentially worse. It does, because they went from best friends to no friends.
Right.
Because Kyrie was not there for Kevin when Kevin needed him.
Right.
It's one thing for Kevin to say, oh, you want to go to Brooklyn? I'll follow you to Brooklyn.
Right.
It's another thing when you're favored to win it all for Kyrie to say, I don't want to get vaccinated. Why not? Well, I don't know. I just don't. I don't believe in it. Okay. And it wrecked their chances last year, and it cost KD a whole year in which I thought he was an MVP candidate. He just didn't play enough games, played 55 games and averaged 30 a game. So the point was, it was a lost year, and the only thing I have to go on straight from Kevin, and I think it came straight from the horse's mouth, was when I first took my stand that Joe Tsai, Sean Marks, Steve Nash are going to take their stand and say, no, Kevin, sorry, you got to play here. You owe us 4 more years. When I first said that here and tweeted that there, his brother stepped up and said to me, hell with that and hell with you. That's the only thing. And you always tell me you got to consider that from the horse's mouth. Okay? You got to consider that sanctioned by Kevin Durant.
Yes.
Or maybe encouraged by Kevin Durant, who has had burner accounts.
Yeah, well, that guy's in the inner circle.
Okay? And this is the equivalent of a burner account with somebody's name on it that has a last name of Durant. Okay? So here we go with Kevin Durant's brother is saying, hell with me and hell with that idea. Well, that's about as strong as it gets. So I'm going to have to leap to the conclusion that Kevin is ready to take a stand on not playing for Brooklyn.
Right.
So, in the end, this is a tough one because you don't have a leg to stand on. You don't. It was one thing for Anthony Davis to say, I got 1 year here left, and I just don't want to play for you guys, so let me go.
Corey, so because if I leave via free agency, you're going to get nothing. They got a King's Hall. You think about what they got for Anthony Davis. They got a young Brandon Ingram. They got a young Lonzo Ball. They got a Jack and Josh Hart. And they got, 3 first-round draft picks with pick swaps. So they made out like a bandit.
Okay, they did. So now it's harder for Brooklyn to make out like a bandit because even though, let's say this package goes through. Let's say Brooklyn, to your point, says, okay, done. We'll take Jaylen Brown, but we want Marcus Smart, and we want Grant Williams, and we want 3 unprotected first-round picks in the future, okay? And we want a pick swap with you a couple other times.
Right.
So for that package, what would I say to that deal? I would say that the Nets got fleeced for Kevin Durant. I would still say they got fleeced. I'm sorry. It's just you can't replace him. What would they be without him next year by adding Jaylen Brown? Jaylen Brown has made 1 All-Star team, and I like him. And I've told you there are nights when I'm rooting against Boston when Jaylen Brown scares me a lot more than Jason Tatum did. And Jason Tatum by far led the playoffs in turnovers, but second on that list in turnovers was his running mate, Jaylen Brown. So Jaylen Brown made 1 All-Star team, not this past year, but 2 years ago. Jason Tatum, to his credit, even though he failed miserably in the finals, he's made 3 straight All-Star teams and 2 first-team All-NBAs, including this year. First team, that means you're 1 of 5.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So to me, it's about 6 of one, half dozen the other between those 2. And I'd be okay to take Jaylen Brown instead of Jason Tatum. If you want to flip it around, that's fine with me too.
If they would have flipped it around, they'd have done took the deal. If you include, it'd be a no-brainer. Because I believe...
Is Jason Tatum really that much better than Jaylen Brown? I don't think so.
I believe he's thought of around the NBA circles through the players and the man and
only
the
because
GM.
You throw in character and defense.
Well, I think Jaylen Brown plays as good a defense, if not better.
I do too. Okay, so through these playoffs, Jason Tatum averaged 26 and 7 rebounds, and Jaylen Brown averaged 23 and 7 rebounds. So it's a little bit, a little more scoring, but listen, Jason Tatum will take far more shots because he is considered the man over Jaylen Brown.
But again, okay, KD goes to Boston. Here's another situation where a guy's already established as the fan favorite. He's homegrown. So now, is he going to be okay with that because he's going to another situation? At least he went to Brooklyn, Skip. Kyrie came in. None of the guys that were already there, I mean, Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie and Jared Allen, okay, they're nice players, but they weren't staunchly entrenched and they weren't thought of as being superstars or on the cusp of being superstars. So now he goes to Boston. Jason Tatum got drafted there. He's grown up there. Yeah, he's only, 20? He's 24, but he's been there 5-6 years. So now he's in the fabric. He's looked at now, although he's not as accomplished, Skip, as Steph Curry was when KD got to Golden State. But you can see how the fans think of Jason Tatum.
I do, but I do not ever, and I'm not in Boston, but